Hello, 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 and welcome to Nursing News You Can Use at 5. I'm Tina Baxter, and I'm your host. Thank you for coming today. And so excited to be back here on March the 29th, 2023. I missed you all from last week. I was out sick, and I knew that would not be a good time for all. So I decided to opt out of last week, but I'm glad to be back. So let's get started with our affirmations for today. So affirmation number one, do more of what makes you happy. And I have to admit, I am learning to do that and do less of the things that I don't like to do. And then I love this one. Your only limit is you. Your only limit is you. And then lastly, we have this one. I thought this was really great. Be stronger than your strongest excuse. Be stronger than your strongest excuse. So this is from our affirmation calendar that we have for this year, the Inspirational Daily Calendar, available at Amazon. No, Amazon's not paying me, but if you want to, hey, why not sponsor video? Why not? All right. So let's get started for today. So for our leadership moment, I just wanted to say this and a big apology to those that are on our Nurse Shark Academy page. The live stream that was scheduled for our financial workshop did not go through. There was a glitch with StreamYard, but it did go through on our LinkedIn page. So I did want to say that, yes, the video is uploading for you. So the video will be uploaded and you will have access to the financial freedom video. I've just uploaded it for you. So there you have it. You will have it. You didn't miss a thing. So that's coming up. All right. So let's get started with our leadership moment, as I said. So our financial freedom workshop we had today, and I wanted to talk with nurses about starting their own business. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of briefly give you a little teaser. And so um, when I put together this workshop, a lot of nurses were saying they didn't have the time, they didn't have the money, they didn't know where to start. And so I wanted to give you a venue where you can find the time, find the money, and figure out where to start on your business. And that's what our financial freedom workshop is about. And so if you are on our Baxter Professional Services page, go ahead and click over to our Nurse Shark Academy page and check out that video. And that video will be up until probably next week. And then that video will come down. So I just wanted to let you know that video will be available for the replay until next week, and then we'll go ahead and take that on down. So just keep an eye on what's coming up for our next video. So excited about that. So let's get started in the news. And I apologize. I've got a lot of energy today because I just got out of that financial workshop. And I have a lot to cover for news-wise to make up for last week. So let's get into it. So this is a case we talked about before, and if I don't know if you all remember, but there was a nurse. She was an ICU nurse. She was a travel nurse, and she had a psychotic break. She had mental health issues, etc., and she killed 6 people with her car. And they said that she was going over 130 miles per hour. Well, now the story has come out, and this nurse, Nicole Linton, is thought to have had a seizure. And so that is the defense that her attorney is using. So he's saying they have a neurologist that's going to testify and that she had a seizure and froze at the wheel before the crash. So her defense attorney, Jacqueline Sparagna, told the judge that they plan to call a doctor that specializes in epilepsy and seizures to testify at the upcoming preliminary hearing on April the 15th, according to the New York Post. The defense at the preliminary hearing, which is apparently rare, says everything that the doctor has reviewed is consistent with her having a seizure. Nicole wasn't sleeping for days, and insomnia can cause seizures. It was thought to say because she had the seizure, instead of slumping, like people thought, that she tensed up, which kind of makes sense with the seizure. If anybody's ever seen a grand mal seizure, she tensed up, and because of that, she was her foot was on the pedal, and that may have what had been happening. Instead of her falling asleep, So we'll see what happens with this. So I wanted to bring that up because this is a nurse that had mental health issues. Apparently, she wasn't taking her medication or had missed her medications, and therefore she, because of that withdrawal from the medication, she may have had a seizure. They are treating her for her mental health issues in the jail. So they said the government's own doctors know that this is a mental health case. And so her attorney is saying she didn't commit murder. Again, we're waiting for the outcome of this case and for the trial, but I wanted to update you on what's happening. And it's going to be interesting to see. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to see a little bit of the testimony from this expert, because I do find that kind of stuff fascinating, obviously, having been a testifying expert myself. So curious to see how this is happening, because as we noted, that there seems to be a rash of nurses and healthcare providers getting criminally prosecuted for accidents and things like that. I find this really fascinating and a little bit scary. I'm not gonna lie, a little bit scary. So let's get on, because there's another issue about this, and this is another case where nurses were charged criminally. So this is coming out of Dauphin County. This is Dauphin County nurses charged after resident's death in Pennsylvania. This is from WHTM. And it says 2 nurses have been charged after the death of a resident at Spring Creek Rehabilitation and Nursing Center in Dauphin County. According to the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office, Deanna Hamilton and Margaret Susan Nyes were charged after a male resident fell and was seriously injured at the facility in December 2019. The man was hospitalized and died on January 1st, 2020, from a subdural hematoma after being found unresponsive after repeated falls. The Attorney General's office said a grand jury investigation alleged neither nurse followed protocol in how they responded to the man's condition after the man was found on the floor of his room on December the 25th. According to the Attorney General's office, Nyes disregarded policy without assessing the man for injury herself, documenting the incident, or calling a nurse. On December 29th, the Attorney General's office says Hamilton was called to the man's room after he was found on the floor again. Despite a visible head injury, the Attorney General's office says Hamilton failed to follow established protocol to ensure the man was properly assessed and monitored for latent injuries. So that makes me wonder, because they're saying that it wasn't properly assessed by the nurses. But then it says it didn't notify a nurse. So that makes me wonder, were these nurses or nursing assistants? Good question. And so it says the Attorney General's office says the investigation found Hamilton allegedly covered up the conduct by omitting and misstating information on the man's medical chart. Hamilton of Dauphin is charged with felony neglect of a care-dependent person and misdemeanor tampering with or fabricating evidence. Nyes of Hamilton is charged with a misdemeanor count of neglect of a care-dependent person. Both Hamilton and Nyes were charged on March 24th with bail set at $10,000 unsecured for each. So it's interesting to see this case, because usually these cases were, as far as I know, were more of a civil matter, but now we're seeing more criminalization happen. And so my question is, was this neglect? I don't know. I don't know all the facts of the case, but I'm finding this interesting that more and more we're seeing these things, and that's why I bring this up. This can be a bit concerning, because we have this happen, and this is another case of a nurse being attacked by a doctor, and this goes to the disparity between nurses and doctors when it comes to these types of cases, which is really frustrating to me. So this is reported by nurse.org, and it says doctor who allegedly attacked nurse's career violated HIPAA reaches plea deal. Yeah. Dr. Brent Harris, a family medicine physician in Carroll County, Georgia, pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge for illegally accessing medical records. Dr. Harris, a well-known local doctor, owns multiple businesses and properties around the county and had no police record at the time of the arrest. A 2007 graduate of Mercer University School of Medicine, Dr. Harris was previously affiliated with Tanner Medical Center in Carrolltown. According to reports, in March of 2021, Dr. Harris accessed a pediatric patient's chart that he was not caring for. Brett and Amy Hicks took their son to the ER after an incident that occurred at a school owned by Dr. Harris. So this is where it becomes tricky. These are things that you should not do. But the child was taken to the emergency room. Dr. Harris had access to the chart, so he accessed the chart. It says the specific events surrounding the incident have not been released, but police were called to the scene. So the police were there at the school. Something happened at the school. They took the child to the ER. Dr. Harris, who owns the school, then accessed the child's chart, even though he was not the treating provider. He specifically looked into information about the parents, including prescriptions and daily medications. Again, it has nothing to do with the child, nothing to do with the treatment, nothing to do with that. He wasn't even treating them. He had no right to access this. This is where I find it egregious. After obtaining the prescription information, Dr. Harris allegedly used the information to file an official complaint with the Georgia State Board of Nursing against Amy Hicks' nursing license. Hicks, a nurse with over 10 years of experience, did have her license temporarily suspended pending an investigation, but fully reinstated and cleared. Hicks previously worked as a trauma critical care nurse at Grady Health System. She currently works as a nurse practitioner at a medical day spa in Carroll County. She says he used some of that information he obtained about myself to file a complaint against my nursing license, which was found baseless and ruled with no fine or reprimand on my behalf. Brett Hicks spoke to the judge prior to sentencing and said, quote, "Your Honor, we'll never know what happened to my child that day at the school because of Harris' attack on my wife's career and her character and us financially. If you do accept this plea, make sure that if he does this to anyone else again, he will be held accountable." And Harris had said prior to his sentencing, "I just want to say to the Hicks family, when all this started, there was never any intent to hurt anybody, and so for the harm my actions have caused, I'm truly sorry." The judge accepted the plea deal, and Dr. Harris was given 12 months of probation, $1,000 fine, and no jail time. And here is my question. Why did she not file an ethics charge against him with the medical licensing board? This was a violation of HIPAA. This was protected information because he was not the treating physician. He never should have gotten into the child's record, let alone mom's medical record, to look at her medications to make this false claim. Had it been the other way around and a nurse had done that, she would have lost her license. They would have put her in jail. All these things have happened. Again, I am just saying that this is a case where this doctor used his privilege to attack a nurse's family presumptively for financial reasons because her child was at a school that he owned. So originally, a grand jury indicted Dr. Harris on 3 counts of computer invasion of privacy, 2 counts of unlawful obtaining a prescription drug monitoring program, and 1 count of negligent using, releasing, or disclosing PDMP information. Again, I'm just saying, if I was this family, I would definitely be looking at other things. It says, despite the incident, the false report to the nursing board, Hicks owns the successful med spa downtown that specializes in aesthetic procedures and is run by an all-female staff. I'm going to say congratulations to her in winning this case, but yeah, boo. And I say that because, again, it's because he used his privilege to pick on this nurse who's had nothing to do with him other than her child went to a school that he owned. I just find that just terrible. And so we're seeing where these things can be weaponized and used against you. And I'm sounding the alarm because these boards of nursing sometimes are kind of running a little bit rogue at times. And you just, you know, I've seen case after case where there's been agreed, the LaRonda Vaught case. Originally, they said, okay, you have to do certain things. They let her off. But then when it became bigger, then they came back to come after her license. And so, again, there's just a lot that goes into this. This is why I say be very careful and cautious with what you do and understand. And I remember that years ago in Texas, these nurses reported a physician that was showing up to surgery intoxicated. He found out about it, called the sheriff, and had them arrested, in the hospital fires them. So again, yeah, I agree with you, President Biden. Nurses are sometimes the most unrespected staff members in the healthcare field, and the fact that we make up 80%, 80% of the healthcare workforce. We need to demand our seats at the table, and this kind of stuff has got to stop. All right, I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on because I want to address a couple of other things. So this is a bill that passed in New York. I like to keep abreast of things that are happening in other places because they may come here. So as one part of the country goes, so the others follow in suit. So a bill passes that addresses New York's nursing shortage. This is coming out of Albany with WIVT, WBGH. Yesterday, State Senator Toby Ann Stavisky and Assemblywoman Donna Lopredo announced the passing of a bill that is expected to help address New York State's nursing shortage. The legislation will allow nursing programs to expand their clinical simulation programs to up to 1/3 of total clinical training. And we've talked about how clinical sites are so needed right now. They're so limited. It's hard to get in students at any clinical site. So anything that we can do to help them finish their training, it would be great. We have better technology for simulation and things like that, but that really worries me because as we move to doing more simulation, what happens when you're in a real world situation and it doesn't quite go down like the textbook? And so that's where some of these employers are really going to have to beef up their staff education programs. Years ago, you used to live and work at the hospital. You were there all the time. So you got that good on the job training. It's not like how that is today. So we need clinical sites. So let's go on a little bit in the story. He says this will expand access to hands-on clinical education and allow nursing programs to be more flexible. Simulation-based learning experiences expose students to life-like clinical environments, are nationally tested, and have already been adopted by nursing education programs in dozens of states. According to Lopredo, New York State is projected to face a shortage of almost 40,000 nurses by 2030. This new legislation is expected to help. It has passed both houses and state legislature, and now the bill awaits the governor's signature. So that's a great, and we're seeing that more and more where they're changing the rules for governing nursing education, and I think updating them. I'm curious though to see if they're going to start offering a little bit more of those simulation things for physicians too, because we've had a physician shortage as well. So we'll see what happens. This is an update on the fake nursing diploma. This is coming out of Fargo. And this is what's interesting. Now, this scheme happened in Florida. We're going all the way to Fargo to talk about this. So it says Fargo nurse's license suspended after she got fake diploma in massive scheme, officials say. A Fargo licensed practical nurse was suspended from her duties in September after North Dakota officials learned she obtained false credentials in a scheme that produced thousands of fake nursing diplomas and transcripts. The North Dakota Board of Nursing recently confirmed to the Forum that it suspended on September 6th a nurse's license for Dorothy Cummings, an LPN who worked at PAM Health Rehabilitation Hospital in Fargo. Attempts to reach Cummings were unsuccessful. According to the report, Cummings fraudulently obtained an illegitimate one-year practical nursing certificate and transcript that she used to get her licensure as a licensed practical nurse in North Dakota in November of 2020. She didn't complete the needed program hours and clinical training need to earn her practical nursing certificate and transcript. The suspension in North Dakota will last 5 years, the order said. During that suspension, she is not allowed to work in any nursing role in North Dakota. Minnesota also suspended Cummings' license, according to nurses, an online database that shows the state of nursing licenses in the United States. Documents were not attached to that database, but nurses said Cummings was suspended for fraud, deceit, or material omission in obtaining license or credentials. As you remember, this is coming out of the investigation called, Nightingale? Yeah, Operation Nightingale. Cummings has not been criminally charged in this scheme, but 25 defendants who were prosecuted in the Southern District of Florida in federal court, they face up to 20 years in prison. The fake diplomas, again, were issued by Siena College, the Palm Beach School of Nursing, and Sacred Heart International Institute. The 3 South Florida schools are now closed, according to the release. So we're going to continue to see more fallout from Operation Nightingale, I think, as the months go on. And another news, this is coming out of Rhode Island. This is from Newport Buzz. And they have issued another bill to help the nursing shortage. So Senator Matthew L. Lamontin and Representative Joseph J. Solomon Jr. have introduced legislation that would allow nursing home residents a little bit more money to pay for their monthly personal needs. So this benefits nursing home residents. This goes back to the story that we talked about a couple of weeks ago about how nursing home residents are only allowed a small allocation of funds every month. So in Indiana, I believe it is at $51 or $52. So every month, if you're in a nursing home, basically you have $51 or $52. Well, those of you who if you're adult in long-term care, a lot of times that $51, $52 has to cover any outing they want to go to, whether they want to buy a pop out of the vending machine, if they wanted to get an ice cream that's not on the menu or extra, if they wanted to buy a gift for family members, if they wanted to go buy some underwear and some socks, they got to come out of that $51, and $51, $52 doesn't go very far. So the personal needs allowance is the amount of monthly income a Medicaid-funded nursing home resident can keep of their personal income. Since room, board, and medical care are covered by Medicaid, the majority of one's income must go towards the cost of nursing home care. The allowance is intended to cover the nursing home resident's personal expenses, which are not covered by Medicaid. Under state law, each nursing home resident is allowed a monthly stipend of $50, which can be spent towards a variety of personal items and services. The legislation would increase the allowance from $50 to $100 per month. So, Senator Lamontin is quoted as saying, nursing home residents, the frailest in our state, suffer enough indignities of old age without having to stretch $50 for a whole month. The law setting that allows at $50 is now decades old, which is true, and is in dire needs of an increase. Hello, we need that in Indiana here too. These residents who were once the lifeblood of our state are forced to hand over all of their income and live on less than a pittance. So this was a law that was enacted back in 1972. The federal mandate allowance was set at $25 a month. It was raised just once federally in 1987 to $30 a month, where it remains. So federally, it's $30 a month. I don't know about you. I don't know anybody that can live on $30 a month. And by the way, that $30 or $50 or whatever they get, it's also supposed to cover their phone bill. And in some cases, it has to cover their cable bill. And if they have life insurance for their burial, it comes out of that. So they really don't have a lot of money left over. So it says, Representative Solomon says a personal needs allowance of $50 a month has turned our nursing homes into de facto poorhouses. If the allowance had been linked to inflation, it would be about $180 today. And so that's what we're seeing. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. This is something that wasn't linked to inflation. So as costs have gone up, the amount that they get back has not gone up. So that's part of the issue. So now individual states then are left to having to make these changes. And I do know that that's something that had been introduced by our state a couple of times. And from what I understand from our state legislators, it's never gotten out of committee or passed on to get a full vote, which I think is sad. So this is something I applaud them. I hope that this gets passed because I think it's just horrible that they would expect our nursing home residents, our seniors, to live with just that amount of money. You could buy one bra, you can buy one shirt, and your money's gone for the entire month. Okay, let's move on. This is a story that came out of Boston, 25 News. This is again on the nursing shortage, and I just wanted to share with you kind of an overview. So, nationwide nursing shortage fueled by burnout and aging, according to this report, which we kind of know, right? Because we've talked about this before, but I find this interesting to see what they're doing about it. So it says nurses are the foundation of our healthcare system, but like many professions right now, there's a dire shortage of nationwide. New data shows that we need more than 275,000 additional nurses over the next decade. According to Dean Sarah Zanton of Johns Hopkins School of Nursing, if you need a nurse, you need a nurse. If we get to a point in this shortage where schools don't have nurses, jails don't have nurses, emergency rooms don't have nurses, it will affect everybody. Dean Zanton warns that this is what's at stake if the ongoing nursing shortage isn't taken seriously. She runs the Johns Hopkins School of Nursing in Baltimore, where you'll find the next generation of nurses like Eric Reno. Eric Reno says, I was really into the mental health aspect of physical fitness. Even as a student, he says it's difficult watching nurses leave the profession. He says, I have to remind myself that this is going to be hard. This is part of the journey, but remember that there's a bigger picture that I want to work on, at least personally in the end, which is it influence how mental health is taken care of. Another factor is the aging workforce, with federal data showing that about a third of nurses could be at retirement age within the next decade. So according to Dean Zanton, you're going to need more and more flexible models. People in their 70s may still want to work, but they may want to work 4-hour shifts instead of 12-hour shifts. And I have to say, I have a friend, and she does just that. She's a surgical nurse. She goes in, she works 4 hours, and then she's out because she doesn't want to work that much. She's at the age that she can retire, so she's semi-retired, and she chooses to do that. According to the American Association of Colleges of Nursing, more than 91,000 qualified applications were turned down in 2021 alone. That's 91,000. Officials say that's because there's a shortage of nursing school educators, along with classroom space and clinical sites for teaching. Generally, nurse educators earn less than their clinical peers, says Zanton. So you can imagine, for a job that's just as hard, it's inspiring, but just as hard and takes just as much qualification, if not more, they need to be paid adequately. Because remember, you can be an associate degree nurse, you can be a baccalaureate nurse and work in the hospital, making a lot more money. But as an associate degree and a baccalaureate nurse, you can't teach in higher education. So those tenure spots are not there. So you're stuck being adjunct faculty, which tends to pay less. So there's a lot that goes into this. And so state lawmakers here want to find a bipartisan solution. This includes addressing other barriers. So Republican and physician Bill Cassidy said many states requires a master's degree to become a nursing educator. And he says, I've worked with certificate nurses who have been by the bedside for 20 years who knew nursing. The idea that we cannot use someone such as she in order to educate others, I don't think acknowledges how much she knows. Nurses have also been advocating for change. They're pushing for a new bill called the Future Advancement of Academic Nursing Act, or the FAN Act. Zanton says this bill will address many of their concerns, like more financial aid for students, better support for faculty, and new classroom space. Back in Baltimore, some students say they also want more diversity. Reno says, I don't have as many faculty who look like me. It's one or two here and there, but I was like, what, one day, maybe I can be that person for somebody else. Officials say the nursing shortage may vary depending on where you live. They expect rural hospitals and underserved communities in urban areas will be the hardest hit. And again, and part of that is because most of the resources are going to the affluent hospitals in the suburbs. So we've kind of talked about that. So this is coming out of Boston, but it's really a national look at what's happening. All right. So let's talk a little bit about something that's adjacent to what we're experiencing, and that's on the homeless population. So some nurses were pointing out some problems with sick homeless people of a man who spent days on a hospital sidewalk. This is in Honolulu, Hawaii, from the Hawaii News Now. It says medical professionals and community health providers are evaluating the plight of a homeless man who says he was discharged by Hawaii's largest hospital. Hawaii News Now first reported Tuesday about 59-year-old Timothy Walker, who spent days on the sidewalk outside the Queens Medical Center. The story has gotten a lot of reaction, including from those who work at the hospital. Hawaii Nurse Association President Daniel Ross says homeless individuals often come to emergency rooms looking for food and shelter, but do not require serious medical attention. He says Queens would not have released Walker without a doctor, saying he no longer needs to be hospitalized. Ross says, I don't believe Queens did anything wrong. An ER nurse said the story left her frustrated and angry. For sure, it's bad at the ER. The ER is completely full. The hospital is completely full, she said. The nurse, who had asked to remain anonymous because she was not authorized to speak publicly, says residents need to know that there are legitimate reasons that homeless people such as Walker, who was treated at Queens, end up being discharged while still in need of aid. Sometimes they refuse treatment on scene unless they are admitted. They come to the hospital, but what they want is a place to stay or sleep. They want something to eat. They want juice and a sandwich, and then they leave, said the ER nurse. In Walker's case, even though he was treated at the ER on Friday, he was back on the sidewalk in front of Queens asking for help. HNN had learned that he refused emergency treatment earlier in the week and declined shelter with IHS. In 2020, the city had built the Punawani Rest Stop to care for homeless people who might otherwise go to the ER for basic needs. Walker was initially taken to Punawani on Tuesday night. He was subsequently sent to Straub Medical Center for additional treatment. He remained at the hospital Wednesday. So again, that becomes a problem. And I get it because we used to have, when I worked at the hospital inpatient, we'd have people who would come in for what we call 3 hots and a cot, unfortunately. Because they knew if they got admitted to the psychiatric unit, they would potentially be there for at least 3 days. And so we you combat that. You want to make sure that you give compassionate care. So you need to triage that person and treat them and provide those resources. So I'm bringing that up because we're going to be seeing that more and more as we see our economic downturn and things that are happening. The homeless population has been an issue. And again, it's frustrating for people to see that. And I'm sure the hospital did what they could, but we as a society need to do more. Okay, this is coming from BG Falcon Media. And it's nursing home employees demand to be heard by Governor Mike DeWine. This is coming out of the state of Ohio, and since I am a native person from Ohio, grew up in Ohio, and recently experienced nursing homes in Ohio and Michigan, I think this is important, Governor Mike DeWine. So, according to this report, the local union there, CEIU 1199, nursing home employees demand that their ideas be heard about how to improve Ohio's nursing homes. Governor Mike DeWine's Nursing Home Quality and Accountability Task Force will hold a listening session on March 28th at 2 p.m. That was just yesterday at the Wood County Senior Center. Now, we talked about this a couple weeks ago about the changes that he wanted to make with the Nursing Home Quality and Accountability Task Force. Ohio's nursing home industry has been ranked 39th in the United States in terms of quality, some of the worst in the country. There is currently a 25% shortage of nursing home workers due to poor working conditions and low wages. Seniors and people with disabilities are suffering due to catastrophic staffing crises at all of Ohio's nursing homes, according to Becky Williams, who's the president of CEIU District 1199. The only way to fix the broken nursing home systems in our state is to increase care hours, hire more staff, pay a living wage, and respect staff enough to work with them to create sustainable solutions. So this is what they're asking for and advocating in in Ohio, and I fully support that. And I hope that the governor listens and invites the workers, the people that are on the job, ask them their opinions. It's again a reason why I push for nurses to have that seat at the boardroom table. Okay, so let's get on to nurses making a difference and some good news. How about that? All right, so uh, this is coming out of our own Madison County from the Herald Bulletin from my good friend Caleb. There we go. Nursing career offers promising opportunities to Madison County residents. So this is going back home. How about that? So it's coming out from the Herald Bulletin. And it says the pandemic provided an opportunity for both local hospitals to be strategic about brand new solutions to an age old problem, the shortage of nurses. According to Marcia Meckel, VP, Chief Nursing Executive for Community Hospital Anderson, Community Hospital Anderson became the first in Indiana to implement a vital nursing program or virtual, innovative, transformational nursing. Rather than replace the traditional bedside nurse, a virtual nurse handles the admission and discharge process, freeing bedside nurses for other tasks. And I think we've kind of talked about this earlier, that this is a trend that's coming across the country. Virtual nursing was implemented in 2022 between July 19th and September 20th, and telemetry, cardiac, surgical, and ortho neurospine, according to the previous article. Virtual nurses are experienced nurses and could mentor less experienced nurses, according to Meckel. Despite a lot of turnover during the pandemic, Community Hospital Anderson is adequately staffed as of late. Community Hospital Anderson has also partnered with Ivy Tech Community College and Anderson University for the purpose of creating a steady supply of trained nurses. In a previous article, Lynn Schmidt, Dean of Anderson University School of Nursing and Kinesiology, said the number of freshmen dropped from 71 before COVID to 35 in spring of 2022, which she attributed to the difficulty in virtual learning. Though not at pre-COVID numbers, the number of applicants has steadily increased. This academic year, AU has about 40 freshmen, uh, giving them 130 nursing students in total. Though recently in the news, nursing shortages have always been with us, Meckel has said. Increasing the supply of nurses is important because so many RNs are close to retirement. The average age for an RN is over 50, according to Meckel. Community Hospital is not the only one making gains. Ascension St. Vincent has also partnered with Marian University for the regular in-person and accelerated nursing programs, according to Wish TV article. Ascension St. Vincent also provides clinical opportunities. So again, that's great. That's wonderful. So kudos to them. There are some scholarships that are available. It says seniors in their second semester may be eligible for a $10,000 scholarship for tuition for Community Hospital if they agree to work for Community Hospital Anderson for at least 3 years after graduation. 6 students of diverse backgrounds may be eligible for the HRSA Workforce Diversity Grant, which includes $2,000 scholarship and $4,300 stipend for whatever they need. So those are some of those things that are available out there. And those of you that are in Anderson and looking for funding for your nursing career, this is one way of getting that done. And so I wanted to say kudos to the Hero Bulletin and also to Community Hospital and Ascension Health St. Vincent's for what they're doing. Okay. And my alma mater, AU. All right, so let's get on to our next nurse making a difference. I saw this and this was impressive to me because I had been at one time a member and chapter president of our small local Indiana chapter of the Addiction Society, the International Nurses Society on Addictions, the INSA. So Kimberly Dion was named a fellow of the International Academy of Addictions and Nursing. So congratulations to her. Kim Dion is a clinical professor in the Elaine Maribeb College of Nursing. She's been named as a fellow in the International Academy of Addictions Nursing. The Academy is internationally recognized assembly of addiction leaders with members in the U.S., Ireland, Brazil, Canada, Holland, and the United Kingdom. The Academy is responsible and accountable to the International Society of Addiction Nursing Board of Directors. Its mission is to foster excellence in nursing practice, administration, research, and education in addictions nursing by recognizing and capitalizing on the wisdom of outstanding individuals in the profession who have contributed to addictions nursing in sustained and significant ways. Fellows are selected based on several criteria, including teaching and learning, innovation, research, and leadership in addictions nursing. So Dion earned her bachelor's degree in nursing at UMass Amherst, MSN in nursing at the University of Hartford, and a PhD in nursing at UMass Amherst. She is a certified addiction registered nurse, a National League for Nursing certified nurse educator, and a certified in intranasal naloxone train the trainer by Massachusetts Department of Public Health Bureau of Substance Abuse Services. In October 2021, she received the American Nurse Association Massachusetts Excellence in Nursing Research Award. So I want to say congratulations to her. She is one of our nurses making a difference. Here is another nurse making a difference. And I thought, let's just celebrate a lot of people as I missed last week. So this one is for Colonel Herb Watson, a living legend in nurse anesthesia education. He unfortunately has passed at the age of 94. Like others in the greatest generation, 15-year-old Herb Watson, claimed to be 18 in order to enlist in the U.S. Navy. From 1944 to 1946, he served in both the Atlantic and Pacific theaters of World War II from the relative safety of a naval warship. This was not the case for more than 2 decades later in Vietnam, where, then in the Air Force, he served as a flight medic on C-130s, airlifting injured and dying soldiers to hospitals. Over 500 missions, he saw the worst of the conflict's combat during his 1967 to 68 deployment. His daughter, Val Caldwell, said, "It was horrible, just horrible. Some things he couldn't even talk about. But he had the disposition for it, a good disposition, to be able to walk the walk. He was an extraordinary human being." Over a highly decorated 21-year service in the Air Force, Watson traversed the globe with his wife of 66 years, Beverly, and 2 daughters. He retired from the military in 1977 with the rank of colonel and went on to lead a prestigious career that set the foundations for nurse anesthesia education in the United States, retiring as chair of the Virginia Commonwealth University Department of Nurse Anesthesia in 1994. Watson died on March 7th at the age of 94. According to Michael Flaccaro, PhD professor emeritus at VCU, Herb was a living legend in the profession. It goes on to say in the article that if service to the nation was his calling, nurse anesthesia education was his passion. Watson graduated in 1958 from Texas Brooke Army Medical Center School of Nurse Anesthesia. Over the next 13 years, he'd earned a bachelor's degree in nursing from Syracuse University and a master's in nursing education from Columbia University. While serving as a senior consultant to the U.S. Air Force Surgeon General, Watson drafted a plan for preserving the role of the nurse anesthetist by linking it to a master's degree in nurse anesthesia. Watson took his quest to VCU, where his vitae earned him the chairmanship of the department. There he formed the specialty's first postgraduate master's degree in 1979. At that time, most nurse anesthetists were simply certified to administer such medications or held bachelor's degrees, but the master's was something way out in the future. Flaccaro said the profession accrediting body didn't require a master's degree until 1998. He was certainly a visionary in that regard. In 1979, Watson founded Nurse Anesthesiology Faculty Associates, a continuing education business that he ran as a family affair with Beverly and daughters, who would handle the registration table at conferences. In 1981, VCU graduated the first students in the nation to earn an MS in nurse anesthesia. So I want to say congratulations to him on all his success and a successful life, and my condolences to his family and his passing. But he leaves a wonderful legacy. And with that, because of that legacy, I want to share this last story of nurses making a difference. These are 2 CRNAs finished as top runners in the World Marathon Challenge. This is from nurses.org, and it says, for many of us, running even one marathon would be a major accomplishment, but for participants in the World Marathon Challenge, one marathon is nothing. In fact, even 2 or 3 marathons is nothing, because runners in the challenge run an incredible 7 marathons, and not only that, they run them within 7 days on 7 different continents. My goodness, that would be amazing. 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 different continents. I can't even imagine that. How do you do that? So 1 marathon a day while traveling to a new continent every single day. The race is a real one, and this year, advanced practice registered nurses came in strong to represent the myriad of skills that nurses can possess. In fact, not 1 but 2 female CRNAs not only finished the World Marathon Challenge, but came in as the top 7 finishers as well. So congratulations to these ladies. I think that's amazing. Kudos to you. Wow. It says the 6th place finisher in the female category of the World Marathon Challenge was Danielle Witowski, who's a native South African, born and raised in Carltonville, and CRNA for Envisions Physician Solutions at JFK Medical Center. And so she now lives in Boca Raton, Florida, after working as a critical care pediatric neonatal ICU nurse for 6 years. She became a CRNA position she's now held for 10 years. Wow. All right. So Dr. Nicholas Ramanoff, who encouraged her to run longer distance, said he felt it was more suitable distance for her natural endurance ability. She said, so it turns out he's right. She won her first marathon, and she went on to do many, many great things, including being in 3 half Ironmans, 1 full Ironman, 1 ultra marathon, which is 31 miles. Wow. And then we have okay, hold on 1 second. Let me get to our next one. Okay, that's Wachowski. All right. Johnny Garza, a CNRA from California, didn't join his CNRAs in running the marathons, but applauds them for their accomplishments. Okay. All right. So I'm just trying to find the other nurse's name, and I apologize. I cannot seem to locate her name. But I want to say congratulations to these nurses for making a difference. That's awesome. More than I could do, because I've always said I'm not running if nothing's chasing me. So I can say congratulations to those nurses for that. Those are our nurses making a difference. And we're almost out of our time. So I want to go ahead and get to our events that are coming up. So this Saturday, coming up, and I will put this in the notes. This Saturday, we have our event coming up, which is our Jumpstart Nursing program. This is so if you're interested in starting your nurse-owned business and you want to get started, I'm putting it right here in the show notes. We have our Nurse Shark Academy Jumpstart Your Nurse Business coming up this Saturday. Tickets are $27. It doesn't cost you that much, $27 until midnight on April 1st. And then it goes up to regular price of $37. So get the early bird special. Get in there for $27. We're going to give you practical tips to get started. So you're going to leave that workshop with ways to get started in your business. So if you're looking to start your nurse-owned business, this is a workshop you want to be in. Also, we have our ebook available that's on our website. You can pick up our ebook, and I'm going to put that in the show notes as well. You can purchase our ebook, and that will get you into also get you started in your nurse-owned business. You can pick that up if you don't have time to attend the workshop, which is a live workshop. So there's no replay. It's not going to be live streamed. You get to the workshop. Can't get to that workshop, get the book. At least that'll get you started in your business. I'm going to put that in the show notes as well. And then, of course, if you want to be a member of the Nurse Shark Academy, then join us at the Nurse Shark Academy. With your membership, you get access to the leadership training that we have, the Business Builder program. You get the Jumpstart program. You also get access to the book. You get all the videos, replays, all those different things that we have, as well as the master class, the group, and one-on-one coaching from myself. So you can join us for that as well. So I will put that link also in our show notes so that you can get on the Nurse Shark Academy page and join us at the Nurse Shark Academy and be there. So thank you for tuning in. You have a great rest of your week. I'll see you on the flip side. And for those of you joining us at the Nurse Shark Academy, I'll see you Saturday morning. Bye-bye for now.